The night he lost everything didn't feel real at first. It felt like a slow-motion punch, the kind you see coming but can't dodge. A cold wind rushed across the empty driveway as Michael Ridge Ritterson, a former Hell's Angel with scars that told more stories than his lips ever had, stood staring at the locked door of what used to be his home. Behind that door, the woman he had loved for 9 years was dividing his furniture, laughing with the man she'd betrayed him with, and signing the papers that would strip him of the last things he thought were unshakable: his house, his savings, and whatever pride he still carried after burying his brother, and leaving the only brotherhood he had ever known. All he had left was the motorcycle leaning on its rusted kickstand behind him, and even that felt too heavy to touch. If you believe in second chances, in kindness, or in the possibility of rising again even when life destroys you, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps the channel and keeps these powerful stories alive. Ridge walked into that night like a ghost with nowhere to haunt. The roar of his engine couldn't drown out the hollow ringing in his chest. He rode until the moon faded and the sky bled into morning, stopping only when the road ended at a small town whose name he never even read. He checked into a cheap motel with peeling paint, its sign flickering like a dying firefly. The room smelled of old cigarettes and loneliness, but it wasn't the room he cared about. It was the silence, the kind that forces a man to look at his reflection in a cracked mirror and admit how far he has fallen. In those first weeks, Ridge barely spoke to anyone. He woke up before dawn, not because he had somewhere to be, but because his mind refused to let him sleep. He wandered the town's dusty roads, sat by the river that curled behind the old mill, and tried to quiet the storms inside him. People looked at him strangely. The leather vest, the tattoos, the hardened jawline. But Ridge kept to himself. He wasn't dangerous, just broken. The money left in his pocket was thinning fast, and hunger has a way of pushing pride aside. He found work at a local scrapyard, a place where rusted metal and forgotten machines piled up like memories no one wanted anymore. The owner, an older man named Henry, didn't ask questions. He just handed Ridge gloves and pointed to the mountain of metal that needed sorting. The work was heavy, dirty, and relentless, but Ridge welcomed it. Every crushed car felt like a piece of his past being dismantled. Every swing of the sledgehammer was a heartbeat returning to life. The days bled into weeks, and slowly, like a seed buried under the weight of winter, Ridge began to change. His muscles grew stronger, his mind steadier. He started waking up with purpose, not because he had regained pride, but because he was rebuilding something inside himself. One evening, after a long shift, he noticed a young boy watching him from across the yard. The child couldn't have been more than 11. Thin and quiet, holding a broken bicycle by the handlebars. Ridge approached, expecting the child to run, but instead the boy shyly asked if he could fix it. Something in the kid's eyes reminded Ridge of his younger brother, before the drugs, before the gang life, before the funeral. So Ridge knelt, examined the bike, and with calloused hands and patience he didn't know he still had, he repaired it. The boy's smile lit up the yard like a sunrise. Word spread quickly through the small town. The quiet biker with the haunted eyes had a gift for fixing things. Old machinery, broken tools, even hearts if you stood near him long enough. Soon people began bringing him items to repair, slipping him small bills in gratitude. Ridge didn't ask for payment. He just wanted his hands busy. But the townspeople insisted. Henry eventually offered him a small corner of the scrapyard to turn into a workshop. Ridge took the offer, spending evenings piecing together parts from the junk piles, discovering he could create beauty from what others had thrown away. He built lamps from engine pieces, tables from wheels, art from rust. People bought them, sometimes for more than he expected, not because they were perfect, but because they came from the hands of a man who understood brokenness. As the months passed, Ridge became something he never imagined, a pillar of that quiet town. The same people who once avoided his shadow now greeted him with warm smiles. The boy with the broken bike visited often, helping Ridge with small projects and filling the silence with stories. Ridge started laughing again. He started living again. 12 months after he arrived in that town with nothing, Ridge stood inside a renovated workshop bearing a wooden sign, Ridge Restorations, where broken things breathe again. Next to the sign hung a photo of his brother, young and fearless, a reminder of why Ridge kept choosing a different path. The workshop was filled with light music and the warm smell of sawdust. His heart, once stripped bare, felt full for the first time in years. One late afternoon, while Ridge was polishing a restored motorcycle, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned to see the woman who had taken everything from him standing near the doorway. Her eyes darted around the workshop in disbelief. She spoke softly, fumbling for an apology, saying she never expected him to survive. Ridge listened, not with anger, but with the calm of a man who had discovered that forgiveness was both a release and a victory. When she asked how he rebuilt his life so beautifully, he simply said that sometimes losing everything gives you space for better things to grow. She left quietly, and Ridge felt no bitterness, only gratitude that her absence had created room for this new life. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of the incredible strength we carry even in our darkest moments, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Your support helps these stories reach more people who might need them. Before we close, leave a comment below sharing one thing you've overcome in your own life. Your story might inspire someone who feels lost today. And that is how a man who had his home, his money, and his pride taken from him built something far greater in just 12 months, a life worth living.